welcome into another podcast episode for Coatings Pro magazine. I'm Stephanie Chiswick and I'm editor-in-chief of Coatings Pro. Today we have with us Roy Schoffel. He is the executive advisor to the ABAA board. That's the Association for the Air Barrier Association of America. That's right. And president and founder of Division 7 Solutions, Inc., which is now entering its 33rd year of continuous operations. Roy is also the acknowledged inventor of the perfect wall, which is now the nationwide building code standard for wall construction. And also, if that wasn't enough, he is a member of Coatings Pro's editorial advisory group this year. So Roy, thank you so much for welcoming us or for joining us on today's podcast.
You got it, Stephanie. Thank you for having me. I'm very complimented by this.
No.
You had mentioned the perfect wall. And the perfect wall was a development that we did about 17 years ago. And it is really the perfect wall has become the national code for building envelopes. And it involved the utilization of continuous insulative sheathing outside of the conditioned space. So we were able to save 40% energy cost for the use of an air barrier. But what we really were able to do with the perfect wall with this insulation, and it can be anybody's insulation, it's not specific to one technology, it was able to cut down the thermal leakage of the building probably by 50%. So the perfect wall was developed in 2003. We received a provisional patent for it in 2003, applied for a patent in 2004. Unfortunately, that was the dot-com bust, and we ran out of funding money for the patent, but it's still standalone. And the compliment is the codes, accepted it and implemented it several years later.
And so is that something that's still being used today despite the patent, or is that, just kind of was the beginning?
Well, great question. When we ran out of money, we decided to open it up to the entire world pro bono because it solved a lot of problems. Energy efficiency, dew point condensation, moisture vapor transmission into a building. So we released it to the general public. It is the basis of the code nationwide, the International Energy Conservation Code, starting in 2015 and continuing even till today.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. I mean, and for people who, obviously we're Coatings Pro magazine, so we focus on the coatings aspect of it, maybe liquid applied materials in the field. Could you maybe speak a little bit to how coatings are a part of that building envelope and maybe what air barrier and building envelope mean?
Coatings is a huge part of this business in building envelopes, and even a bigger part of the application of air barrier materials. The science behind air barriers themselves is pretty complicated, as it deals with molecular size of materials. It deals with vapor transmission, or what most folks call vapor permeance, and the transfer of, say, hot, unconditioned, high humidity air into the building. So the air barrier's purpose, in one sentence, is to keep the conditioned air in the building and keep the unconditioned air out of the building. Probably at this stage of the game, there's been tremendous growth in coatings, air barrier coatings, in both liquid and spray applied applications into this business. It's getting huge very, very quickly. And the reason the Air Barrier Association of America came about was that as this technology came from Canada to the United States, starting in about 1998, 1999, and was incorporated into the building code in the state of Massachusetts in 2001, we found out that there was no one out there to apply it. We had no applicators. We had no tradesmen, or tradespeople, I should say. And the Air Barrier Association of America was founded with the guiding principle that we were going to train contractors, certified contractors, have accredited contractors fully versed in air barrier application and technology. So it's been a progression. It's really, ABAA is only 20 years old at this point. We're proud of that. We're probably up to very close, not exactly, but very close to 600 trained, certified, and accredited people in this business.
That's amazing. And I guess I never thought about it because I know that it started in Canada. So when you talk about the conditioned air, I'm wondering then if you're speaking more to keeping the warm air in the house, the cold air outside of the house or building for that, it doesn't have to be a house, but does it also apply to the opposite? So if you're in a more of a southern area, keep the cool air inside and the hot air outside?
That is correct. We're chatting today. It's June the 18th. My outside thermometer on the porch of my office in the shade is reading 94.
Yikes.
Okay. The THI, or temperature humidity index, is about 104. So just by keeping your inside air conditioner at 78, 80 degrees, you've got a very perfect environment, and you spend a lot of money to keep that perfect environment. You don't want that leaking out, and you certainly don't want this extremely hot and humid air coming inside. Now, this is where the perfect wall came in, because the insulation allows us to maintain. The air barrier does its job, but the insulation just cuts out all the thermal shorts, making it easier for mechanical and HVAC systems to be extremely efficient.
That makes sense. Yeah. You're calling in from Texas, so it's certainly much hotter down there than Canada.
That is correct, and I am a native of the city of Philadelphia, so I do know what winter represents also.
Mm-hmm.
And this assembly, this air barrier and continuous insulation assembly, developed over years, really works in both climates. And the reason my little development was called the perfect wall is because it works in all climates.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So, I mean, this is obviously you have a wealth of information. You've been around the industry for a while. What is your background? Why should people, trust in what you're saying? I mean, you certainly have a lot of letters behind your signature: FCSI, CCPR, FABAA, and CABS. Roy, what do all of those mean to you and to us, I guess?
No problem. And it's funny you ask it that way. I grew up on the streets of Philadelphia. I was always an overachiever. At the age of 12, having a paper route and then building that paper route to the biggest paper route in the city, things of that nature. I also have a jock background. I am very proud to tell you that at the age of 70, just in April of this year, I took the silver medal in the Texas Senior Games, i.e. the Texas Senior Olympics. So I
Wow.
am competitive, and I like doing these things. So why should people deal with me? I am a chemist by education, and I worked in research and development for the first 1/3 of my career. And understand, in my career in Division 7 product technology, coatings, roofing, insulation, waterproofing, air barriers, is now going on its 51st year. So I have seen a lot. You're correct about that, Stephanie. I've seen a tremendous amount. And one of the ways that someone like myself can achieve what they want and demonstrate what they want, and most importantly, have the credibility that's needed for folks to trust you as their advisor, is to become certified by certain groups. So the CCPR is a certified construction product rep that is through CSI. And basically that CCPR designation means to an architect or specifier that I know their business, I know how to work with them, and I have a deep, deep knowledge of writing the specifications, which are really contract documents. The CABS is relatively recent, and that stands for Certified Air Barrier Specialist, CABS. That comes from the Air Barrier Association of America. I worked with Laverne Dalglish, who is the executive director of the ABAA. I had an idea. We started working on it 6 years ago, and now we have the highest, literally the highest certification that meets international standards for the Certified Air Barrier Specialist. We launched it in September 2020. It's continuing to grow. A lot of people are interested in it, but again, it's a tested demonstration of all of your knowledge in that particular area. Now, the FCSI and FABAA, They are both recognitions by your peer group. FCSI means Fellow of the Construction Specification Institute, and FABAA means Fellow of the Air Barrier Association of America. And that is a very high honor. Very, very complimented and gratified that my peer group saw it fit to award me these two fellowships based on my performance. So it's very much appreciated.
Yes, congratulations. I mean, it certainly makes sense to me. I mean, like you said, you've been instrumental in so many different changes over the past, even recent years, it sounds like. And are there any, I guess, trends that you've been seeing as far as what's changed over that time in the past few decades, as well as, what you're seeing coming down the pike for opportunities in the industry?
Well, the first huge change I saw, and this is probably before you were born, was 1979 to 1981, where the entire roofing industry switched from, multiple ply build-up roofing with hot, stinky asphalt kettles up there to the single ply roofing. And then the single ply roofing matured on to become cool roofs. And the cool roof was basically started by a gentleman I know, Pat Downey. And Pat had done a lot of studies in the city of Atlanta looking at cool roofing, white roofing, reflective roofing. So, you just take roofing alone, over 20 years, it completely switched from multiple ply, high intensity labor, not exactly the best smelling stuff to be working with, to a very clean, environmentally friendly, and contributing to environmental health with the single ply roofing. The same thing came about with the air barrier and the coatings for air barriers. When all this started out back in Canada and came to the States about 1999, the vast majority of the marketplace was what we call the peel and stick 40 mil polymer modified self-adhering asphalt membrane. And there are a variety of manufacturers, good manufacturers, high quality manufacturers, but every business goes through change. And in the construction business, the predominant change is going from really thick material which requires high labor. And what they do now is everything over a 20-year cycle goes thinner, application, more highly engineered materials, a tremendous amount of chemistry, less labor cost, less time on a job. And the air barrier industry is now following that trend, the same trend that single ply roofing caused with the changes in the 80s and 90s in the United States. So it's interesting for me to see the business because we start out in one area and there are vast amounts of improvement in chemistry, application technique, polymer performance, and engineering properties very, very rapidly.
Yeah, and I have to imagine that those types of changes are not only great for probably the consumer, but also and the environment, but also for the laborer, the contractors on the site maybe needing to use fewer people to apply, and we're having labor issues right now and supply chain issues and all kinds of challenges. So that probably helps and cut some I don't want to say corners because it's not that, but it's helps kind of streamline things maybe.
It does make the operation much more efficient. And as we improve our chemistry, even though the chemistry has been wonderful and beneficial in the air barrier industry, the workers are the ones that count. So most of what's used in the Air Barrier Association of America meets all sorts of requirements, environmental requirements, which makes it safer to use for the contractor themselves. And that safety translates into, less days off sick, less injuries on the job site, quicker application, and a much better quality of life.
Yeah, just so important. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Well, I've known you or gotten to know you a little bit over the years since you've been such a huge support to Coatings Pro. So we have a little bit of a rapid fire question. I'm very excited to hear what you have to say. I'm intrigued to your answers. So first thoughts that come to mind, what is your biggest pet peeve?
Wow. The biggest pet peeve that I have is that people do not and talking about our entire construction industry, they don't take the time to research what they're doing or to take continual education courses in what they're doing. I wind up a lot of times having to go back over and cover the basics for a person who chose not to attend the seminars. And I realize time is tight, labor's tight, but let's take Coatings Pro magazine. You have a ton of wonderful information there. Good, solid, most cases third-party or peer-reviewed information. That Coatings magazine should be in everybody's car, truck, or office, and it should be read thoroughly. And what I see happening on the field, due to labor shortages, pressures on the job, folks aren't taking the time to be as fully educated, as fully researched, and as fully knowledgeable as they could possibly be.
Well, thanks for the props. I'll take it.
Oh no, I love your magazine. It hits me, and that's it. So, I mean,
that's great.
It's one of my favorite reads, all kidding aside.
Thank you. We appreciate the support. Okay, who would you consider to be your hero or mentor?
Ronald Reagan.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Of course, it would be my father.
Right.
And then Ronald Reagan.
Awesome. Okay.
And Ronald Reagan, the reason for that is he spoke about America. He spoke about what we could accomplish. He spoke about the shining city on the hill. It literally still, gives me a little thrill on the spine type area. But, we live in a great country. We can get stuff done. We just got to put our minds to it. But Reagan was the one who best explained it with his comment about the shining city on the hill.
I'll have to go read that quote. Okay, that's a good one. If you could be anywhere in the world right now, where would you choose to be?
Texas.
Nice. Well, you're there.
I am here. I have no intention of moving out of Texas. The state of Texas, as you know, came into the United States as a republic, as a separate country. So we have different laws and regulations. Texans fully support the idea of limited government, and there's no state income tax here. You're not overburdened with regulation. It is the way this country was founded. But allow me to give you an example. Most elected officials in the state of Texas are part-time. And myself included, when I served as city councilman, it was part-time, and you got $20 a meeting. You would have 2 meetings a month. Our state legislature goes into session once every 2 years for about 140 days, and that's it. So there's really minimal interference from the government into your private lives. I moved to Texas for that reason, after being inspired by Ronald Reagan. And I moved here for that reason. But technically speaking, our governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, and comptroller are the only full-time state government officials. A lot of other people are part-time. All the elected people are part-time. Very big change from many other areas.
Yeah, I didn't know that, and I love the connection that you have between the two questions for the rapid fire. That's what a theme. You're living your truth, that's for sure.
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
And
well, thanks, Roy.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
That's it.
That's it. Is there anything that I did not ask that you wanted to talk about? I want to give you opportunity to share anything that I didn't kind of bring up.
Our business today, and by our business, talking about coatings business, design professionals, architects, and we're getting a lot of young folks in, which is great. They've got the latest technology, they've got different things. But your job in construction, your job doesn't stop at 5. You've got to devote time to reading. You've got to devote time to research. And you need to take continuing education units just to keep up with everything. A variety of mechanisms to achieve that. But again, it's not what it used to be. It's a much more intense business with higher liability. And we have all got to upgrade our game for education and whatnot. And I can tell you that The Air Barrier Association does a great job of that. Last year, I introduced a thing called the Learning Unit Cafe through ABAA. And we have a banner that says nourishment for the mind. But, you know, you have a lot of times where you can only give a box lunch from 12 to 1, you know, lunch and learn. Well, what we did, and thankfully the board of directors of ABAA accepted my idea, we've now opened that up basically we'll do it from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So when that architectural firm wants a learning unit, we can deliver it anytime during the day at their request. So things like that, our business has become more flexible, or the business of ABAA has become more flexible in that regard. And it is called the Learning Unit Cafe, and I love that idea.
I do love that idea too. And I love that it's got the flexibility now to offer people, you know, when they need it, I guess, rather than when it's just available to them. So that's awesome.
Now, I can give you a quick example if you got 30 seconds.
Of
I
course.
just finished one. I finished one for a consulting group out in the state of Washington. Well, number one, because no one could travel, no one could get to Washington to keep them updated on things. And basically what we did, I was able to do this thing. We did it at the end of the day for me. We did it at 7 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock their time. That flexibility didn't exist a year ago. And it was fun doing it. You know, unbeknownst to them, I was sitting there with a rum and Coke. Okay. Poor folks were in their office and couldn't do what I did, but things like that, we're here to accommodate the businesses and handle their needs for education.
Yeah, that is great. It's just, I just love that flexibility. That's definitely one of the silver linings that have come out of this past year is the flexibility that we all now have to connect to each other. And not that there's, you know, there is obviously still a great value in in-person events as well, but to know that we have this virtual component as an option is always helpful, I think, too. Yeah.
It's huge. It's bigger than anyone knows. But again, you've got to be able to accommodate, you know, other people's schedule. It can't just be your schedule. It can't just be noon to 1 anymore. So we open it up widely. And, you know, and I tell the audience, additional certifications or accreditations do an awful lot for the perception of you as a professional. And you need to consider hustling a little bit to get those.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks, Roy. You've obviously mentioned a lot in this, you know, 20, 25 minutes chat, ABA, CSI, the perfect wall, Reagan, all kinds of things. If people want to follow up with you, what is the best way to do that?
Easiest way to get hold of me is to call me on my cell, obviously, and that's 210-859-3749. So it's 210-859-3749. Just so you know, I am an early riser. I'm functional at 5:30 a.m. I work out 6 days a week because it's the jock side of me or competitive side of me. And I normally don't shut that phone off until about 8 p.m. And that is all central time, and they are welcome to call anytime between those hours.
Wow, that's awesome. That's very generous and active, Roy. So yes, thank you so much for your time. We'll include your phone number in the show notes as well. Again, my name is Stephanie Chiswick. I'm editor-in-chief of Coatings Pro Magazine, and this has been Roy Schoffel. He's the executive advisor to the ABAA board and president and founder of Division 7 Solutions. Thanks so much for joining us today, Roy, and for everyone else, as always, happy coding.
Calling all coatings contractors. We have a great resource for you. Coatings Pro Magazine provides you with the latest news, trends, and technologies for your coating needs. And the best part, it's completely free to anyone who signs up. Simply visit coatingspromag.com/subscribe. Coatings Pro, know what the pros know.